if you use Nitroblast in your render. So I usually use Softlight. Softlight works a lot, like as you can see there. Just paint over your letters. See, even I'm having trouble seeing this, but I have a dark TV, or monitor, I mean. So we're gonna paint right over our letters. And now it's a lot easier to see your render. And now you're gonna want to color this light. I call it that. You can call it whatever you want. And then I'm gonna set the opacity of it down a little bit. I'm gonna set it to 60. You don't want it to be too bright. Actually, I'll set it down to like 40. You don't want it to be too bright, but you want it to be a little bit brighter because we're going to be adding curves later in, or that's what I do. And so now, since we have that, we are also going to do this. I'm going to go back to my GFX pack. I'm going to deselect this. Bring the effects up. Oh no, I'm going to stay on that, obviously. I forgot. So we're going to go through our stacks again. I'm going to look for another one. We're going to be using the lens flare later on. Alright, let's see here. Nope. Huh. Let's use this one. We're not gonna be using this a lot, but this isn't gonna be too prevalent. We don't want it to be prevalent, obviously. We're gonna set that under the render. You want everything to be under the render. We're just gonna put it just so it's peeking out of the side of our render. And we're gonna Control J, Control T, flip horizontal, hold Shift, and drag it over so it stays on that line. I'm just gonna make it peek out of that side of the render. Click Enter, Control, click on the other side of it, click on both of them, then merge layers, set the layer style to exclusion, and put the opacity of it down. I use these for kind of like a particle effect, but it looks nice. These don't show up very well, so I set it to usually around 45. Alright, then we're going to go back to our GFX pack since we added that stock. Well, and let's see, this will look fine. We can see a way that we can make this work. Select this stock, bring it in. Alright, since we have the orange CC, you could see in the render, or in the GFX pack, I said it was green and we brought it in and it was orange. That's what the CC does. It changes everything to that color, and it'll make it blend a lot better. So we're just gonna do what we do all the time. We're gonna set it to there. We're gonna Control J, Control T, flip horizontal, and drag it over to the other side. Make it symmetrical. It's fine. Maybe a little bit more off to the left. There we go. Control J, merge the layers, set it to exclusion, and set the opacity of it down. These like to show up even at low sensitivity. This stock likes to show up even at low sensitivity, but I'm gonna keep at sensitivity. I'm sorry. I'm gonna at low opacity, so I'm gonna set it to 15, and then I'm gonna take my eraser tool, and I'm gonna erase the edges a little bit, just the little edges of them at the sides, so that we still have this nice looking banner. The render should be the center of the attention always, so try and keep that as prevalent as possible. And we're gonna add another stock to this. We're gonna add a lot of stocks to these actually. Let's add this one, and this one will look fine. Let's just set this one right here so it's coming out of both sides. It's a good size of it. This one we're not going to do too much with it. We're just going to set the layer style to exclusion, as we do with everything. Set the opacity down, and we're going to erase the edges of them so it looks a lot nicer. Nice, I'm sorry. And for this one, I'm going to put another blur on it. Put a radial blur on this actually. Blur method, I always use zoom, quality best. Set it to 13. Doesn't make much of an effect, but it sure adds once you get a lot of those. Alright, and then we're gonna make that not visible, and I have a certain stock in mind. I just gotta find it. Here it is. We're gonna bring this one in, and we're gonna set this right here since we don't really need to do anything. Set it to exclusion. I'm sorry, my music just randomly came on. And we're gonna set that to exclusion. We're gonna put the opacity of it down to this one. I'm gonna actually put above the render. I'm gonna set the opacity down to 25. I'm gonna put this one above the render. That might seem kind of odd, but it'll look better. This one we're gonna put the filter again, blur, and we're gonna put this one. I'm gonna put radial blur again, but I'm gonna put a lot of it on. I'm gonna set it to like 15. The amount of it to 15. Keep the opacity a bit up for this stock. And there you go. That looks really nice actually. Also, I'm gonna do this really quickly. I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna set this one to light, and I'm gonna select my brush. I'm gonna make it. Let's see here. Let's make it like a red, a darker red. This one I'm gonna set my brush size to around 2,500. Now that might be crazy of how big it is, but trust me, it'll look really nice when we do this. All right, now you're gonna want to center it a bit up. Make sure your brush isn't touching all the way down, and you want to click once, just once. Oh yeah, and also, hold on, once I find it again. Make sure you have a soft brush on. Make sure you have a soft brush on for this. Alright, then you want to click your move tool, and now you have your light thing. So you're going to want to set this. That actually isn't that good of a color for light, but it's fine. It's fine for what we're doing. We're going to set the opacity of it down to 45. Let's see how that looks. That looks nice. Alright. I'm actually going to move this light up a little bit. That's fine. And so now we've got this, and let's just add our curves right away. We're going to put the curves above the CC. And now you have something looking like a little line right here. It's like a graph, a line graph. You're going to want to grab the middle of it and just bring it up a little bit. This will increase the lighting of it. And it's going to drastically, like you see if we put it up like that, you'll see how all those stocks look. Obviously that's not the greatest thing in the world. That looks kind of gross, but it's going to bring it down. We don't want it to be incredibly bright, but we want it to be a little bit brighter. I'll also bring another point down a little bit to increase the contrast of it, so we can see the letters a bit more. And I might grab another point just to make it a bit brighter. Kind of want to make it a bit darker actually. Right there is nice. Alright, so that's a nice curves. We're gonna have to decrease the opacity of some of these now, obviously, since we brought those curves in. So we're gonna put the opacity of these down, of the little like particle looking. What do you even call those? They're like diagonals. I don't know, but we're gonna set the opacity of that down. We're gonna grab this and we're gonna set the opacity of this down. It's pretty much everything, seeing as how the curves made it a bit brighter and made everything a bit more prevalent. Now we don't really know what to do with any of them, since it looks not the greatest at the moment. But trust me, it'll look really nice when we're done with it. Let's just see if this works with anything. Alright, then let's just turn the opacity of this down. No, it's at 15. Alright, we're good. And now we're going to bring in some more stocks. We're going to go back into our GFX pack. And let's see here. I'm looking for a specific one. It's right here. Select it, drag it in. And I'm going to put it right there. Make it more of a smoky fire type thing.